we're going to get started. It is 7:16. We'll call the meeting to order. First thing is the flag salute. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call.
Okay, Ms. Bollenbacher.
Here.
Mr. Chandler,
Here. Here.
oh, yep, he did unmute. Maybe we don't have the volume up. Did you say you're here?
Yes.
Hold-
Can you hear me? Yep. Can you hear me?
Are you not able to? We're not hearing you. Can you raise your hand to indicate that you're here? There you go. Okay, he's listening. All right, good. Ms. Compatello,
Here.
Mr. Marks is absent. Mr. Oliverio,
Here.
Ms. Pakalnik,
Here.
Mr. Radilla,
Here.
Mayor Perry,
Here.
Solicitor Corbel,
Here.
and Engineer Misserman is not here today, and then I am here. And then I also would like to ask for a motion to amend the agenda. We would like to add under the CRCE section to consider a new logo for the borough. And I have put the new borough that we're the new logo that we're proposing in front of everybody. So everybody should have a sheet with the logo on it. Can I get that motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Ms. Polkownik. Any discussion? This is just for the amendment to the agenda. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Sorry, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm an aye for that.
Oh, that if you hover over the image above and click on those three dots and click pin. There you go. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Is that all? Is that the only one amendment?
Yeah, that's it, because the other one is next. It's for the next meeting.
Next. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The consent agenda. We on the OneDrive were the council meeting minutes from October 12th, the bill list from October 26th. And on the agenda, the September reports should read, not the manager's report, the JTS tax collection report, the engineer's report, not the bond sheet or budget versus actual, but also the police, tax, EMS, and code enforcement. We're all included on the OneDrive. So again, to repeat that, that's the JTS tax, the engineer's report, police, EMS, code enforcement.
And I just want to mention one thing to everybody. I know a few of you saw it, but we did adjust the drive so that it is no longer tied to an old manager's drive. So you all should have new links to the drive and they should be updated. So just double check that if you would, when you get a chance, and make sure that you have access to the drive.
Great. All right. Do we have a motion to approve the October 26, 2023 consent agenda?
So moved.
Mr. Radilla,
Second.
Ms. Bollenbacher, any discussion or questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. At this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue appearing on today's agenda. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Comments on non-agenda items will be taken at the end of tonight's meeting. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Please state your name and physical address for the record. Pam, can you check, please? There's nobody in this. Okay. So on Zoom.
You click on the people down at the bottom, participants. Yep.
Okay. On Zoom, you would raise your hand. So you have to
And
attendees.
move to attendees, yeah. See the attendees list at the top right. There you go. if they would raise their hand. if
They're
they
on the
were.
phone.
Yep.
too. Okay. All right. President's report, nothing to report. It's all in the agenda today. Mayor's report.
Well, since you didn't remark on it, I
I
would
didn't.
like to
ahead.
remark on the last Sunday's dedication of Baker's Acres, which the borough had acquired earlier this year. It's that stretch along the busway that we're hoping to be able to add to our trail. Our whole the trails
Sure.
that we have here. And so we had a lovely dedication with the name of Baker's Acres, because the longtime residents who sold the properties, their name is Baker, and they came out, and we're just really thrilled that we honored them in that way. And it was very nice. It was very nice.
Yeah.
So I think that's about it. I
Yeah.
don't have anything else.
The Bakers were really appreciative, very emotional, shared a lot of stories with the group, and there's now a rock there with a plaque on top of the rock. Which
And
looks really
it's
cool.
down by the Woodlawn,
Woodlawn.
and so you can see it if you're coming around from underneath the busway over there. And you
Mhm.
look straight ahead, you can see it. Looks
Mhm.
really nice.
Yes.
And yeah, the big thing for me is that I realized this was the gentleman who sold me my bedroom set that I bought when I moved here 28 years ago.
Great. Great, thank you. Ms. Perry, Solicitor's report.
I have no public report this evening.
All right, Manager's report.
All right, thank you. Update, remind everybody that the budget process is continuing. The next 3 meetings will have budget workshops at 6:30 PM unless we deem to cancel any of them. But they are November 9th at 6:30 PM. And then we did move the meeting that was scheduled for Thanksgiving back to November 30th, and that will have a 6:30 PM council meeting as a budget workshop as well. And then we have the December 14th, where we will be passing the budget at 6:30 PM. And then I also would like to welcome, we have Larry Keenan here today, who is the new engineer for the borough. So just like to welcome him and thank you for coming. If anybody wants to meet him afterwards, you can have a second to chew his ear if you'd like. I know a few of you have already met him, so thank you and welcome him to the borough.
Right.
And then moving on, I met with Teresa Kell Smith, the Pittsburgh City Council president, was it yesterday or the day before? And we just had a nice conversation. We mentioned Baker's Acres. I know because there's been some interest in maybe continuing a trail underneath and up Bell's Run. She's very excited about doing trail work in the city, and they have just secured, I think in this year's budget, funding to take the Pitway Trail that runs all the way up Crafton Boulevard down to the West End Bridge. Then they're rehabbing the West End Bridge as well. As someone who rides this often, I'm very happy that they will be rehabbing that section.
Do you
Yeah.
mean the trolley trail?
That is the,
That's
yes.
what
trolley
most
trail.
people refer to
Yes,
it to here.
sorry, yes, the trolley trail. Yep. And that's actually the same trolley that went on to Baker's Acres. So
Mhm.
it's a continuation of that same trail. And then moving on to the next item on the on my report, which is it's written incorrectly. It's JTS, Jordan Tax Service refunds, not rebates. We do not provide tax rebates. Those are refunds for people that have had adjustments made to their taxes and have filed for Jordan to provide refunds. And so we need a motion from council for this. And so I would like to ask for a motion to approve the JTS tax refunds in the amount of $6,273.38.
So moved.
Ms. Bolenbacher,
Second.
Ms. Compatello, any questions or discussion?
So where do these refunds come from? Is this money that we are paying
Yeah.
Can you give some context to the refunds and where the money is coming from?
Sure. So we received tax monies from these folks already. And then they went back to the county to have their property reassessed. And these are the refund amounts after having their properties reassessed. And so we are paying these out of our general fund.
I believe all of them are new home purchases.
Not necessarily. For those of you that are aware, there was a new calculation put out this year that was significantly better for property owners than for municipalities. And so it's likely that most municipalities are seeing more of these this year and probably will see more next year. Yep.
We expect that this will likely happen again next year. That this is
If they continue that and if they don't make any other moves at the county or they keep that calculation, yeah, we assume that we'll probably see.
Even if the county reassesses the properties, you'll still see this next year and maybe even the year thereafter, because the reassessment process can take time, depending on how they decide. If they decide to do it, and the way it works, it's not quick usually. It could be, but it isn't.
But I'd also like to comment that usually there are some refunds every year, usually not this large of an amount.
This is a little over $6,000, which is not huge for a municipal budget, but do we have a sense of how many properties are involved in that?
I looked at it very briefly today. I want to say there were 8. So most of them are fairly small, $500 to $600 or more. Yeah.
It could be multiple. Right. It could be multiple years because there's been a delay because of COVID. So I've seen a lot that have come across my desk that are, 22, 23, 21, 22, 23. So this could be a compounding effect as well.
Any additional discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And then moving on to the last issue here, and this is the engineering committee. After the comments of the last meeting related to the stop sign request for Crafton Boulevard and comments by Mr. Hof. There we go. I'll get it right. So the engineering committee made the suggestion that we do a study for the whole road from basically Noble down to North and South Emily, because there are several areas in that, several stop signs or areas in that are of concern. So we thought it would be better to just do a whole study across that area and take a look at it holistically. So with that, I'd like to ask for a motion to direct the borough engineers to conduct a traffic study of Crafton Boulevard at the cross streets with Noble, Johnston, and North and South Emily.
Ms. Bollenbacher,
Second.
Ms. Bukalnik, questions or discussion?
How much
So-
will this?
Okay, I don't believe that this has come across the engineering committee which has not met since the last council meeting. So I'd like to clarify, this is not something that the engineering committee has discussed. I know it's been discussed one-on-one with people to prepare for this meeting, but just to be clear, this is not something that has been discussed in engineering committee. We've not met since that came up at the last council meeting. I also want to flag one additional item here. I think that this is really worth looking into, but I'd also like to consider it as part of a larger strategy and not just do these one-off traffic studies for individual requests in different places. One of the things that has come up in the engineering committee before is there are some funding sources out there to do traffic calming and traffic improvement studies. One of those is a federal source, Safe Streets for America. This is just one of others, but I'm flagging it as an example. It's a very large funding pot right now, and Crafton has been unable to pursue those funds because there are requirements in place one of those requirements is to have an action plan for safe streets. So I would like to consider doing a study like this as part of a more coordinated strategy to get the requirements in place to then be able to pursue grant funding such as the Safe Streets for America funds.
So then would that just have us table this for the time being? Is
We
that what
have
we would put a
on the
motion to table?
So this is the discussion, and then we would either go to a vote, or if you pulled your motion, then we could have another motion or anything else.
Or I could amend the motion
Mhm.
to
Right.
if there's interest in an amendment, I could amend the motion to have the engineering committee request that we look into the larger requirements involved to put together a more a thorough strategy for how we could use a traffic study of this type to position ourselves for funding sources.
You could also, as Steve pointed out, you could also table this and we could discuss it at the engineering committee and then bring it back to this body.
Mr. Radilla, you had a question too.
So I'm assuming this stems from the broader conversations we've been having about that one gentleman's bushes.
The bushes that impact visibility at the intersection of Crafton Boulevard and Johnson, and then the other issues that have been raised around not just the intersection of Johnson Street at Crafton, but also the series of intersections from Emily at Crafton Boulevard, Hawthorne at Crafton Boulevard, Johnson at Crafton Boulevard, and down to the bridge. A series of intersections that are closely spaced and rather irregular, I think is what the traffic study encompasses, those three intersections.
Do we know how much this traffic study would cost the borough?
I don't have an official estimate, but the single one would have been $2,500. So my assumption is $7,000 to $10,000.
Didn't the resident who had the issue with the shrubs offer to pay for the traffic study for that intersection himself?
I think that was one of our requirements for it. We required him to. He didn't offer to. We told him he had to, I believe.
Yeah, that's correct. He did not offer, but was asked with the one-way consideration. We have not given any formal request regarding the request for a stop sign.
Okay, I would suggest we move to table this then.
You can make the motion.
I move to table this.
Over top of the
Yes,
motion that's
and
on the table. Okay.
there's no discussion. If there's a second, there has to be a second.
I'll second.
So there's no discussion and it's just a vote.
And now it's a vote to table. Okay. Okay, so we have Mr. Radilla asked to table this motion. Ms. Polkownik second it. No discussion, and all in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes to table the discussion until another meeting.
And that is all I have for my portion of the agenda.
I just have one quick clarifying question. And if we don't need to go down this, we certainly do not. Just to kind of not close the loop on the particular hedges. Where is that? Like, I thought the end was they were going to be trimmed because they had to be. And that's when I feel like it was a couple steps like, okay, well then you can bring someone in to do something else, but are they trimmed?
I'll be honest with you, it was not very clear in these meetings what exactly we had decided to do. We looked at it in the minutes and we rewatched it, and it was still not very clear exactly what was decided to do. But currently the situation is with Mr. Greiner is that he is on a continuance. Is that?
He granted the borough an extension of time to consider his variance application through the end of the year. So whatever is going to be required of him would have to be agreed to before then, or we will be scheduling a zoning hearing board hearing in December to address the underlying issue. Right? They haven't issued a decision, so they have to issue a decision.
And neither has council really. Yeah. So.
So what, what decision do we need to make at this time? We have discussed the need for safety at that intersection. We have discussed the need to trim the hedges, or we have allowed avenues for other alternatives to be taken by the homeowner. But if the homeowner chooses not to pursue the option that council made available, what other decision do we need to make? Or is the homeowner required to follow the ordinance as written?
Well, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but right now, because he has that continuance and he has not met the agreement, he has not met the agreement that was made at the meeting 3 meetings ago, which was that he had to follow through with getting the study and then, or follow through with getting the study and the signatures. And since he has not done that, and we have a continuance, the council could decide, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but you could decide that he has not met it and that you're not going to agree to anything and that he has to go back to the zoning hearing board. So you can push it back to the zoning hearing board, or you can continue to work with them on the stop sign issue, which there has been no real decision made on the stop sign issue that he brought to us. And so you could go either way.
What decision do we need to make on the stop sign issue? He was asked if he wanted to pursue that route. He was given the opportunity to seek the signatures and get a traffic study, and then we would consider it. If the homeowner chooses not to do that.
That offer is off the table because he hasn't met the deadlines. He was supposed to supply this council with petitions signed by the end of September, and then by the end of October to have the study done, et cetera, and then we would move forward. So flip that.
Yeah.
Okay, so at that point, since this deal is that settlement is off the table, the homeowner has a decision to make. They can comply with the ordinance, or they can take that to the zoning hearing board and ask for a decision. Or there's a third path, which would be to try to work out a different arrangement with this council. So as far as I'm concerned, there's that path with the council. There isn't anything out there. You all haven't said anything other than, I think at the last meeting, there was a lot of talk about fix it or let's go to the zoning hearing board. So to me, that's where this is, unless you all want to do something different.
Because I think we are, actively talking here tonight about ways to proceed with a larger study, and we've deferred the decision to proceed with that, but that is deferred so that we can talk about it with the engineers to put together a larger strategy. I don't see any reason why this council wouldn't continue that discussion, but in the meantime, that discussion does not need to be tied to making an immediate decision for the benefit of one homeowner. We should be considering that decision for the best interests of the entire borough. If we're doing a study that could cost us up to about $10,000, that may take us a little time to come to a decision that makes sense for residents and taxpayers in general. In the interim, do we want to defer a decision on the safety of a single intersection, or require that the ordinances be followed as written until a change is made otherwise?
No. Does anybody else have any thoughts or questions? Because it is a fair point. We've done traffic studies before. I think they've turned around relatively quickly, and then they've been brought to council. We've added quite a few stop signs in the past. But to the point, why this was brought to council was a safety issue. A resident complained about a safety issue at the intersection because they could not see as they were pulling out. The homeowner is in violation of our ordinance right now. It went to the zoning board. They kicked the decision to council. Of course, this is the history lesson, as we all know. And we came up with the solution. That solution has not been met. So according to the solicitor, the resident has to comply, take it back to the zoning hearing board, or work out another arrangement. were the three options. I think this option is to do a study of the entire area and more for a traffic calming, which may or may not result in anything around the hedges or around that property.
I don't see how a traffic study would change the fact that in the clear sight triangle, the hedges create a visual impairment. So I don't see how that's, even if we would do an isolated study just on that intersection or a broader one, I don't see any change that could occur there, other than the one way, I suppose, the flip the street. But otherwise, the hedges are in the clear sight triangle. It's a clear violation. You know, cut them or let the zoning hearing board make a decision. The resident seemed confident that they were going to rule in his favor. And that's all fine if that's what they do, but council or the borough did enter their appearance in the matter and is permitted to take an appeal to the Court of Common Pleas downtown. And I don't think that the court will permit that to continue, even if our zoning hearing board said it was okay. That's my legal opinion.
So what should we do? Do we make a motion saying that we don't want to?
I would do nothing unless you want to offer some sort of other resolution, right? And it doesn't sound like, or at least after the last meeting, I didn't feel like that was where this group was going. So at this point, I say we monitor the situation. If by, when we get back to the office after the Thanksgiving break, if the hedges have not been removed, we advertise for a zoning hearing board meeting in December and go forward.
Can I say, as an individual, not speaking on behalf of the entire council, others can agree if they choose to or not if they choose not to, but as an individual, can I please encourage residents, if they would like a change to something, to please bring it to us to consider. But in the meantime, please follow the laws as written until a change is made.
Are they aware of this, that we aren't acting on it and that they should be cutting their hedges?
I can send an email to that effect confirming where we're at on things. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
I think that communication would be well advised.
I think, yeah, I'm low. I have an L. That's why nobody heard what I just said. Yeah, I know. Hello? Okay. All right, we're back. So I missed what we just said with my batteries there, but basically right now we can monitor the situation, and by Thanksgiving, if nothing happens, then it goes to the zoning hearing board for December in a decision. And I think Mr. Radilla said something.
Yeah, Mr. Radilla said, asking if we're going to communicate this to
Okay.
Mr. Granner,
Okay.
and I will do exactly that.
Okay.
And I will copy John and Mr. Corporal.
Anything else?
Nope, that completes my section.
Okay, great. All right, standing committees report, Finance and Administration, Ms. Perry.
So I have been given the budget to actual through September. It has not been reviewed by the Finance Committee as of yet, but by and large, there are no red flags on it. It's pretty much in line and nothing that is significantly out of the planned budget. And that's it.
All right, thank you very much. I do want to mention about the budget. You know, we are being very fiscally responsible, and thanks to Jim, Better Business Concepts, and also Ms. Perry and the Finance Committee, which is Vince and Justin, and also this council. Every item is being scrutinized that is coming out of the borough. So you can, whether it's through the bill list, checks that are being signed, our construction projects, everything is being reviewed. And this is a model for other communities in my mind, because we have gotten to such a nice point from a budgeting standpoint, from our reforecasting, from our forecasting forward. So I'm very proud of the progress that has been made through this council.
All right, and I'd like to add a kudos to our president, John, who I know scrutinizes that bill list better than anyone I've seen in the whole time I've been on council.
Yeah. It's important. It definitely is. So thank you for the group. All right, community services and infrastructure. Ms. Compitello.
Sure, a lot of regular updates to share this month, or this bi-weekly period at least. The Broadhead project that we've been talking about regularly for most of the year. This project is being prepared to go out to bid before the end of the year, with construction to start in 2024. The multi-municipal zoning project update, also, this one has been ongoing for over a year now. The steering committee has met on Wednesday, October 25th, just this week, to work through edits to the calibration tables. We've been meeting regularly and we'll be meeting again because there's quite a lot to work through on those calibration tables. So there's a lot of attention being paid to them. So that's still ongoing, and we'll continue giving updates on that as it proceeds, but it will be going to public review before it is finalized. We'll be looking to that next year. The pool bathhouse, the construction contractors have uncovered issues with rust on the poles supporting the roof and with the coatings on the back wall where the showers are meant to go. This is a project we've also been talking about for some months now. We had discussed potential issues with the roof. We'd had it examined. It looked like it was safe. We were not planning on needing to replace the roof, but in going through construction, we've seen that inside the structure, there are some issues that were not visible to the eye outside. So with those new issues that we found with the rust on the existing poles, we're working with McLean and Gateway to determine if there are any structural issues and then determine how to best move forward. So we'll continue sharing updates on that as we move towards more information and potential solutions. Any questions before I go on? The Public Works Building. Again, lots of updates this month on things that have been on our docket for well over a year. We have been informed that we will not be able to use the $180,000 that we were granted for the municipal building. We won't be able to use that money on the Public Works Building. So we are working with the county to update the $200,000 grant that we did get for construction costs on the Public Works Building. Also the stairs project, we spoke about this at the last council meeting. We approved the contract for the Belvedere stairs. We had an RFP out for contractors for 6 different projects. Costs came in much higher than were anticipated. One of those projects was removed from our list. And then we approved the contract for 1 of the 5 remaining, and the other 4 sets will be sent out to bid in the coming weeks. The 6th project was removed entirely because it was just not as necessary, and with the escalating costs, it was not in our budget at this time. So those 4 other sets of stairs we'll be sending out to rebid in coming weeks in hopes that we can get a lower price for the 4 together Again, we discussed this in more detail at the last council meeting, but they were initially all put out to bid as separate projects. And so we're hoping by rebidding them as 4 sets together, we can get a lower price for the 4 with a economy of scale. And then finally, trail planning. There's been a lot of discussions of trails in the past few years since we did our Parks Master Plan. There was a lot of interest in trails, and we've been talking about trying to get funding to make some of those ideas happen. So we're happy to announce Crafton was awarded a trail feasibility grant of $39,000, $39,100. And we're currently developing an RFP for a planning contractor that focuses on trail development to help us use that money and take it to a next step. And just regular updates for me. That wraps it up for my committee.
Thank you.
Can I
Oh, sorry.
ask?
Questions, comments?
Yes, can I ask about the $180,000? A little more information on that?
Sure, that was a, as far as, it's a GED TDF, the gaming, is that the gaming funds? Yep. We applied for a grant for the Borough building and for to repair the front of the Borough building. Apparently, that it was not advertised correctly. And this was just after the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette went on strike. And because it was not advertised correctly, the county would not give us the grant. So they were in the process of trying to move it, but the county now doesn't control that grant anymore. I'm sorry, they control that one, but they don't control the other one. And so that we were trying to get them to allow us to move it, but we've now found out, in fact, we found out Monday of last week that they would not allow us to move it and that we just have lost the money.
Okay, so essentially the work that has been done on the municipal building, which we thought was largely going to be reimbursed with this $180,000, we've paid for it out of the bond and we are not getting it back.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Community recreation and communications, recreation and community events, Ms. Bolenbacher.
Okay, the Haunted Driving Tour is happening now through October 31st. You can go online to our website to make a donation, and in return, they send you the link that you download onto your phone, and then you can drive around and take the tour. Again, that's happening now through October 31st. Speaking of October 31st, that is our trick-or-treating night out. That is on a Tuesday, and trick-or-treating hours are from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So keep an eye out for the kids. And our spectacular mini golf is open every Friday and Saturday through the month of October between the hours of 7 and 9. And it's $2 per round. And most weekends will be fundraising for different groups. So they change each week. So I apologize. I'm not sure exactly who we're on at this point. Celebration of Lights is happening Saturday, December 2nd from 4:30 to 6:30 in Crafton Park. Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, Snow Princess, lots more details to come as we get a little closer to that. Along with our holiday house tour, Saturday, December 10th from 1 to 6. They are still looking for a few more houses if you'd like to participate. Tickets ahead of time are $20. They are $25 the date of the tour. You can get tickets either online at craftonborough.com, or you can stop at the library or the Blue Snail. They are also selling the tickets, and I believe they are also spots where you can pick up your booklets. I'm going to double check on that though.
I think that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I believe that the booklets are only available the day of the tour
Yes.
at the library.
Oh, only at the
Yes.
library. Okay, I stand corrected. My apologies. That's it for the end of the year for our upcoming events. Also, we have our next newsletter that is currently being finalized and will be in your mailboxes, should be there before Thanksgiving.
And then the logo is under.
Our last piece of business was that added piece about the logo. There is a motion to approve the logo presented to council as recommended by the Communication, Recreation, and Community Events Committee.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
Was the motion made or it needs to be
I
made?
think you're recommending a motion.
Yeah, I mean, I can make the motion if I need to, that's fine. Then I make the motion to approve the logo presented by council as recommended by the Communication, Recreation and Community Events Committee.
Second.
Ms. Compitello, discussion?
So has this logo been reviewed by members of the public, residents? Has this been shared for any input or thoughts before we just pass it?
We have not shared it with the public.
I would like to suggest that we share it with the public before we go formally changing the logo, like it to go through public awareness and feedback.
There is not really an official logo for Crafton right now. So there is the Borough building, you'll see it, but then there's other things that are used sporadically, so there isn't an official logo. The reason behind getting a logo is that we have something, especially for our profiles and as we update websites and even our public works trucks, if you ever saw those all have different logos on them in shape of Crafton and everything else. I don't know if you can give some history of what's happened in at least the committee side too, around the logo.
I mean, we really just, Coletta had come up with a couple.
No,
different-
actually, let's
Oh, sorry.
back up a little bit.
Okay,
So, and I do have a proposal that I think might meet what you're asking about. So, at some point in the not too distant past, when there were apparel to be ordered, it's my understanding that the company that we use came up with this CB with the little leaves in it. And so that we then got apparel that has that CB on it. And so then there was talk in the committee and by the manager about an actual logo. And the thinking was that since we've kind of moved in that direction, that we should use that as the basis. And I can go into the story, but basically, since that was the direction of the committee and with the graphics that I do with the newsletter and that sort of thing, I pulled it and said, well, I'll come up with a number of variations on that theme. And so I applied the green to it and then offered a number of different type styles of the Crafton Borough. Now, given what you're asking, one of the things that we could do in the rough newsletter, I've put a new banner on it, but I could go back to the one we've been using, and then we could find space to put this in and to explain, what it represents and whatever. And then we could ask for community up, down, whatever. One of the things that I can say, if we open this up for ideas from the community, we're never going to get a logo. But if you'd like to put this out and say, this is, where we are with it, like I said, that would be one thing that we could do with the newsletter that's in process right now.
I would like to do something like that, and I think Vince has something to say as well. I like the idea of having a logo, and I do understand that opening it up to ideas will be a kind of a never-ending black hole. But and we have had multiple ideas over the past few years alone that have been put forward. But I would like to, have this in front of a number of people and make sure that no one is interpreting it in ways that we may not think of. I'd like to make sure that we're kind of looking at what other municipalities are doing so that we aren't doing something that is too similar to maybe something that already exists elsewhere. When coming up with a logo that is going to be associated with the borough and visible, we need to make sure that we're being pretty thorough about picking something that's going to be have lasting appeal and be properly read and legible and not bring up the connotations that we may not be thinking of. That's why it's useful to run it through multiple people.
I agree 100%. I think we should get community buy-in. I also think we should maybe pay a little money, get a graphic designer, at the end of the day, this is going to be our brand kind of, people will see that and know, oh, that's Crafton Borough. Currently, I look at this, I just see the B's bigger. So I think like we should be emphasizing the C. The leaves look a little bit sad to me personally. But I really think we really want to get the community's buy-in before we choose anything or land on anything.
So if you're thinking about a graphic designer, I would suggest that this council decide to do that before putting anything out. And I would also like to mention that this borough paid about $1,000 to work towards a new logo with a previous manager that never saw the light of day, which could be revived as a starting point if anyone's interested.
Do we have that work somewhere?
I know where to find it. I just didn't want to like make a big deal of it when the committee was starting to talk about it and saying that they wanted to kind of start with this.
I mean, no, this is way better than what we currently have or don't have.
But I get where you're going with it. And that's what I just wanted to be clear that it was kind of a, an evolution out of the committee, because there seemed to be an agreement that the CB that we started using was the place to start with. So there you go. And and everybody might hate it, but as long as I know that we spent money and we had a graphic designer working with another, a previous manager, we should at least maybe look at it as a starting point.
Yeah, so can we disperse that to the council, and then if we don't like it?
Yeah, we have a motion, so we could do the table thing again. And
I move to table the motion.
so Mr. Rodello moves to table the motion that was just made.
Second.
Okay, so there's no discussion and no vote. But, oh, we do have to vote. That's right. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so
But
motion passed.
We can still discuss in
Yeah,
the meantime.
Now
We
we
are,
can discuss.
we are going to circulate the previous idea that was begun. And then do we want to put something in the newsletter that indicates that a logo is in the works and shares one or either?
So I think, given the timing of the newsletter, I just go back to the other banner, and the newsletter at 8 pages is pretty full right now, and that we just don't do anything. We table it for a while. We pull that up. We have the committee come back around, understanding the input from council and the desire to do it in a way where we maybe have a graphic designer involved, whether we decide the one that started things or someone else. I mean, to just work that out. And then with a plan that is taking what council has advised into account, then maybe by the next newsletter, that would be something we would be featuring.
I would say we might not even have to wait till the next newsletter. One thing we could do is find out what those designs are, whatever has been done. Consider paying to have a designer make a few more, and then we choose maybe the council chooses the 2 or 3 that they like the most, and then you put those out as a survey. It's very easy for us to put out a WooFoo survey for maybe 2 or 3 of them and say which ones do you like best, and then whichever ones like best is chosen, and then you're not putting out for any random design. You're narrowing it to a few choices, and then you pick the one that is chosen.
Sounds perfect.
I agree. I do love the idea, and I love the ideas that are started, but I think we're all recognizing that a logo is it's a much bigger art than it's much more complicated than it sounds. And we want to make sure that we're testing it before we fully finalize it to make sure that it's actually coming across to people the way that we want it to.
Right. Very good. So I have the conclusion here is we tabled it. Of course, the motion that was on the table, then the committee will circulate the previous ideas to council, then the committee review, potentially getting the graphic designer involved. And then the council makes a decision maybe on 2 or 3. then we'll go to a community survey for opinions and potentially choice. Involved in it. Okay, love wrapping these things up with lots of notes. All right. Ms. Boldenbach,
That was it.
anything else? Okay, thank you. Commission vacancy, Mr. Chandler, if you're able to talk.
I'm gonna do
Oh,
it.
you're in, okay.
Yep, this will be very short and sweet. Currently, if you go to our website, craftonborough.com/commissions, we only have a few positions posted. There are two alternatives, civil service and zoning hearing board. And towards the end of the year, at this time, we might have 3 recreation board seats becoming available. That might change by the next meeting. A couple folks on the board might renew their service, if you will. They're just going through that process right now. But that is it. I will not waste any more time.
We clarify when there is an end of a term coming up. A sitting board member would have to, a sitting committee member would need to reapply, but applications would be taken from others at the same time. So it's still, even if there's a sitting person who's seeking to reapply for their position, others can still apply, and it's openly competitive against all.
Yes, that is happening.
Yes, and that's part of the process, is that if your term expires on a commission seat, you have to reapply. You have to go through the interview process and be selected and then approved by council. So 2023, these are the ones that are open, but we're going to have a whole new slate of openings come 2024. And we'll put those on here and we'll be a part of those processes. And the time period is, I can't remember now exactly what's in the policy, but before the termination, you have 60 days or 45 days to give your notice of, yes, you're interested in continuing.
You can also be appointed, I think 60 days prior to the beginning of a term.
Right.
Is that, I think that might be correct.
All right, Council of Government, Ms. Bollenbacher.
I just need to let y'all know that our next COG meeting is Thursday,
November.
it's in November. It'll be the November. Actually, they need to discuss that because it should be the 23rd, which would be Thanksgiving. So I will get back to you on that one because I haven't heard anything yet, now that I think about it.
Would it be the 16th? Because our meeting.
I
is supposed to
apologize.
be
You're correct
Thursday.
because the 2nd is a Tuesday, or is a Thursday. So it would be the 16th and it's in Crescent Township next month. So, yep, the 16th. I looked at the calendar wrong. My apologies.
And I did go to the meeting this time. Very elaborate Halloween decorations happened. So I got to give them
You're still in
credit.
costume.
Yeah, they
you're still in costume.
they really went all out. And then addition, I went as Jim.
He's
Yeah,
still dressed.
very
Yeah,
cleverly
yeah.
dressed. You don't know yet. This isn't really me. But and then we did have conversations around Airbnbs. Is continuing to be a conversation that is happening. And then there were a few other things discussed that, but none were, and then Humane Action Pittsburgh was also at the event, which the mayor and the borough president and I have all had the pleasure of talking to them about some of the things, and we are going to update. We do plan to at least have some ordinances considered that they suggested around tethering animals and selling or selling puppy mill puppies at pet stores in your town. So some things that we can consider as well.
The governor signed a law yesterday or the day before that updates the dog law, which may require us to make other changes. So we're monitoring that.
Great. Great. Okay. Any other comments for Scott? Okay. Community announcements. So Ms. Bollenbacher went through many of these. The next council meeting will be Thursday, November 9th. And the budget workshop at 7:15, budget workshop will be at 6:30. And the haunted audio tour, the spectacular mini golf and Halloween, of course, are all discussed by Ms. Bollenbacher. Halloween again is 6 to 8 next Tuesday. Celebration of Lights and Holiday House Tour, also Ms. Bollenbacher went through. A reminder is Tuesday, November 7th is Election Day, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., and make sure to confirm your polling location. Right, at this time, public comments. Either citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Please state your name and physical address for the record. So anybody present want to speak? Just raise your hand. Okay. Mr. Wozniak. Oh, you have to.
First, I just wanted to say that I thought the rec
Yeah.
board did a fantastic, Greg
Name and address,
Wozniak, Bar Avenue, 1773 Bar Avenue,
Mhm.
Crafton.
Mhm.
Anyway, I just wanted to say that I went to the Oktoberfest. The rec board did a fantastic job on that event. Hopefully it continues and grows and gains a lot of popularity as well. It was fantastic. The other thing I had sent everybody an email and was asking about the protection of Bar Avenue and Clearview Avenue during the Pine Street construction. And any public comment on that back to me?
Well, at this point, you comment and then anybody can.
Oh,
respond
okay.
after you
Oh,
comment.
okay. So anyway,
So you have your 3 minutes.
so in that letter, I had asked whether or not that in the documents to the contractors, that it was spelled out for them to stay off of the brick streets and use the alleyways. I mean, either through written into the contract, so there's not an argument during construction, and also put out during the bidders meeting so that they know. And I'm just asking if that is the case.
We have, we emailed, Gateway, and Alberto is in charge of that project. And he assures me that it'll be in the bid documents. We will talk about it at the pre-bid conversation and at the pre-construction conversation, to use Hall Avenue primarily. I'm not sure all the trucks will be able to use the alleys, but they should be able to use Hall Avenue as an access to that project, because the project itself, other than a small piece of it at the end of Clearview, will be all on Perrine. So there should not be any trucks. And they said they were fine with that. So
they will, so in this particular construction, last time I had went to the contractor and asked him about trying not to destroy the streets. And I had some from the contractor, independent contracting, some serious expletives to me about I'll do what I want on any street I want in Crafton. I just want to know that if a piece of heavy equipment comes up the street and I go out to tell them that, hey, your documentation says that you are not allowed on this street, that that I'm saying the right things.
well, I would say we would prefer that we are the ones talking to the contractor. But yes, that will be in the contract, and hopefully you won't even have to, because they won't be doing it in the first place.
Okay, so
Yeah, I was gonna make that same recommendation, and that if it were to happen outside of borough business hours, to call the police. I know, but you really
Sure.
don't want to be making that confrontation, because you're not an authorized representative of the borough. So, I think that from what I'm hearing, you're gonna do everything that you can, and they're gonna be well aware of it. But if there are any issues, and if you have any trouble with that, you know how to get a hold of me. And I will get a hold of, no matter what time of day or night it is, what day it is, we'll make sure so that you do not have to confront anyone.
okay, because I know on the last project I did send text messages and you guys did respond, but it's nice to know that there is some bite in the contract this time, in that that's the weird way it's going. So all right, thanks a lot.
Would we also recommend taking, if you do see something like that occurring, taking a photo, so we have documentation to follow up on. We have not put the bid out yet, but that's something that's being prepared.
Yeah, I would certainly appreciate that. If you see something, absolutely take a picture of it. That's for anything that you see that you don't appreciate in the borough or is not, take a picture of it, because a picture will help me a million times over when I have to go to someone and tell them what they've been doing. So
Kirsten's got some of my videos.
I've taken pictures of people construction in places it's not supposed to be.
All right, well, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Wozniak. All right, anybody else? Here? Okay, and then online, if you raise your hand. Okay, very good. Does anybody else have any additional comments or questions?
Just one thing, this is not particularly council business, but a reminder for the community. I know this has gone out to all the school families as well. The food bank is really struggling for donations this year, going into the holiday season. So if anyone is a supporter of the food bank, they could really use some support, and donations are needed. Crafton Ingram Food Bank.
Anything else? It is 8:17, meeting adjourned. Thank you.